Today, we're going to dig into a topic that, it doesn't always make the evening news, but it sits at the absolute center of energy markets, geopolitics, and frankly, global stability. And that topic is fertilizer. You can think of it as the invisible engine that feeds billions. And if you understand it, you start to understand the strength and the fragility of our entire food system. So if you want to know the future of food, you first have to get a handle on the geopolitics of fertilizer. Let's get into it.
This old saying really gets right to the heart of what we're talking about today. It's about the very foundation of civilization, the soil. And in a world with a whole lot more people and not a lot more land, keeping that soil productive isn't just a good idea, it is everything.
All right, so here's our roadmap. First, we'll talk about why fertilizer is such a huge deal. Then we'll break down the key ingredients, uncover the kind of surprisingly fragile supply chains, map out the geopolitical choke points, and finally, we'll look at what this all means from an investment point of view.
Okay, first up, the invisible engine. It is so easy to forget that underneath all of our modern-day complexity is a very, very simple need. We all gotta eat. And fertilizer is the silent partner making that possible for billions of us.
This right here is the central idea. I want you to start thinking of fertilizer not just as, some stuff farmers put on a field, but as a strategic commodity with the same kind of weight as a barrel of oil. And get this is an incredible statistic. Roughly half the people on Earth today can thank synthetic fertilizer for the food that's on their plate. Half!
So, what is actually in a bag of fertilizer? Well, it all pretty much comes down to three main ingredients, what we call the agricultural trio. And here they are: nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, or as you'll always see it, N, P, and K. Now these aren't optional add-ons. They are absolutely essential. Without them, crop yields just crater. With them, productivity goes through the roof.
This here is a great little breakdown of what each one does. So nitrogen, the N, that drives all the growth. It helps plants get big and leafy. Phosphorus, or P, that's for the foundation. It builds strong roots and healthy flowers. And potassium, K, well, that's kind of like the plant's immune system. It boosts its overall health and helps it fight off stress.
And that really just says it all, doesn't it? I mean, we can get excited about the latest tech gadget or AI breakthrough, but at the end of the day, our world runs on these basic chemical inputs that literally keep us fed.
Okay, so if these elements are so critical, it kind of begs the question, where do we get them? And this, my friends, is where the story of fertilizer gets really, really interesting.
Let this one sink in for a minute. The single most important fertilizer, nitrogen, isn't really an agricultural product at all. It's an energy product. It's made directly from natural gas.
And this is how it's done. This is the Haber-Bosch process. It's basically industrial magic that turns natural gas into ammonia, which is the building block for all nitrogen fertilizer. This single invention is arguably one of the most important of the 20th century. And the takeaway here is simple, but it is profound. No gas, no fertilizer. No fertilizer, no yield. It's an absolutely unbreakable chain.
But it's not just about natural gas. See, the big three actually come from very different places. Nitrogen, as we just saw, is a story of chemistry and pipelines. But phosphate and potash? That's a whole different story. That's a mining story. They're literally pulled out of the ground from finite geological deposits. And this brings us right to the geopolitical pressure points. Because when your food supply depends on specific chemicals and minerals, well, where those things are located on a map suddenly matters a lot. Just take a look at this crazy imbalance. On the left, the biggest exporters of nitrogen are nations that are swimming in natural gas. And on the right, the biggest importers? They're the world's breadbaskets. The countries that feed the world are often completely dependent on the countries that fuel the world.
And when we shift gears to phosphate, the concentration of power becomes even more insane. This quote just nails it perfectly. One country is basically the landlord for the entire planet.
And this map shows you exactly why. Over 70% of the world's known phosphate reserves are right there, in Morocco. This creates one of the biggest strategic choke points in our entire global food system. Period. And the story for potash, or potassium, is pretty darn similar. It's not some wide-open free market, it's an exclusive club. You've got Canada, Russia, and Belarus controlling the vast majority of the supply, which creates yet another major vulnerability for all those agricultural importers you see on the right. So, with all of these dependencies and all of these choke points, what is the big takeaway here? Well, that leads us to our final section, the investment thesis.
How do you actually navigate a world where the very foundation of our food system is under pressure like this?
This right here is the key idea. When supply chains get tight and prices start to rise, the real advantage doesn't lie with the final product, the harvest. It lies upstream with the people who supply the essential, non-negotiable inputs.
This cycle shows you exactly why fertilizer producers can be such a compelling place to look. It starts with rising prices, which naturally leads to bigger profit margins. This generates a huge surge of free cash flow, and then disciplined companies turn around and return that cash to their shareholders. It's a really powerful and profitable feedback loop.
This chart might look a little technical, but the concept is super simple. It's a cost curve for urea, a key nitrogen fertilizer. And what it shows is that when global energy prices spike, the producers who have access to cheap natural gas, like those in North America, have a massive, massive advantage. Their costs stay low, while the price they can sell their product for goes through the roof.
I love this final quote from LBJ because it's a great reminder that success, whether you're talking about farming or investing, requires you to pay careful attention to the fundamentals. It's about really understanding what's driving the yield.
So we'll end with this question for you to chew on. In a world with more and more scarcity and geopolitical friction, understanding these upstream dependencies isn't just some academic exercise, it's a strategic necessity. The advantage lies with those who understand the roots of the system.
This whole analysis comes from the fantastic work of the Macro Butler. For investors who want to dive deeper into these kinds of insights, and trust me you do, you can visit his website at themacrobutler.com, or you can contact him directly at info@themacrobutler.com.